right, here we are.
Hey.
This is it. City Church.
A name's supposed to go in there or something.
Midweek.
At some point.
Yeah, hanging out and talking and...
Right. Just kind of a midweek.
What are we going to call this?
City Church. I feel like an alliteration would be appropriate. I feel like everything else we do is an alliteration, so...
I think you're right. We got to have a good name for it.
Yeah.
We got to have a good name for it. If you think of something, let us know. You can put it in the comments or whatever, but we got to have a midweek something. So what are we going to do? I think we're gonna talk about the last week's message. We're going to talk about last week's service. We're going to other things going on at the church. I don't know. We just thought we'd just have a fun, chill, hang out, and
yeah, I like it.
And we'll just rap about stuff.
I have a sweet flow. I don't know if you know.
I've heard. I even got a beat. You gonna drop something?
I think my mixtape's too hot.
Next week. It's too hot.
My mixtape is too hot. I think I'd burn this place down.
That's right. I think that's what would happen.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So last week you preached a sermon on Sunday.
I did.
And it was fire. I just got to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was incredible.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I thought your message was outstanding. I thought the service was outstanding. So what went well? What went good this last week at church? What did you see that was good?
So I think over the past few weeks, we've just been building like a ton of momentum. I think last week especially, there was like a shift. I don't know what it was, but I think there was like a tangible shift just in like the worship and the message. And I know afterwards, you went up to some people in the congregation and kind of spoke into their lives. But I think I was just kind of riding off of that momentum and what the Lord wanted to do. And so thankfully, when I preach, I get, months and months of planning and preparation and research. And so,
yeah.
And so it's a little bit easier to put something together that has more sources and material and references and that sort of thing. So
yeah,
that makes life easy.
Yeah, for sure. I think if every preacher could just preach once every 6 weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
Fire.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think their sermons would be super long because they would have too much in them. But
exactly.
But yeah, if you could just research one thing for 6 weeks before you had to preach it, man, the amount of depth and stuff you could add. And so the week in and week out preaching is it's a different level of like prep. I guess you have to like have a big funnel process and stuff.
It is, yeah. You just kind of go with the flow when it's every week. I know. Of course, youth ministry isn't quite the same, but you're like, you get an idea or something happens during the week and you're like, that's what I'm preaching about. Or like something pops up in a conversation. You're like, oh, I'm adding that to my sermon, like as you're going up on stage.
Yeah.
And so it's a very go with the flow process.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I thought this last week went well. I think, I thought the energy in the room was good and for Sunday.
Yeah.
People are really engaging in singing and worship.
Yeah.
And thought that was a lot of fun. The worship team the last few weeks, it's just been
turning it up.
Unbelievable. Yeah, just turning it up a notch. It's been great. All right, so this next section, I want to talk about this. We're going to call it the director's cut.
Yes.
The director's cut. So what you may not know is that every week when someone's preparing a sermon, they always have more content than what they can deliver on a Sunday.
It always happens.
Always, every time. And so there's stuff that you have to cut out in the name of time, or maybe there's a rabbit trail. I get that all the time where I'm preparing and it's like, oh, this is really good. But then when I go look at it in the context of the entire message, I realize this is actually kind of a rabbit trail.
Yeah.
But it's not really conducive to the message or vice versa. So you preached last Sunday. What did you cut out that you had prepared at one point in time and it didn't make it to the final cut, the director's cut?
Yeah, so every time before I go up to preach, I have to, run it through Pastor Matt just to make sure I'm not doing something heresy on a Sunday morning. And I think we ran through it and I was like at 50 minutes. And I don't think we're that charismatic. We're like I can just hold people hostage for 50 minutes. I don't think we're there.
No, yeah, I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. You want to try it in this next week?
Yeah, sure. We'll go 50 minutes of preaching.
Yeah, and just see what the response is.
Yeah.
I love it. And so just kind of that process of weeding things out. So like the story of Gideon in Judges chapter 6, it's like 6 and 7. And I just go through the majority of chapter 6, and I don't kind of get to the fine details. There's a process right after the Lord calls Gideon. and Gideon starts like tearing down idols in Israel, and like everyone's freaking out and like wanting to kill Gideon. It's like if we want to pave the way for peace in our lives, we have to destroy the idols that are kind of holding us and the people around us back from encountering the Lord and putting the Lord back in the rightful place that he deserves, like on top of our lives, so that we can see him bring peace to our lives. And so
that's really good.
Yeah. So that was one of the rabbit trails that I wanted to go on.
That the idols in our lives that hold us back from peace.
Yeah.
Like letting go of stuff that was once serving us but isn't anymore.
Right.
Oh,
and like
good.
Gideon's name in Hebrew means hacker. Like
internet? Like hacking the mainframe?
No. Like lumberjack.
Ah, okay.
That would be another way of saying it. And so like he lives up to his given name, lumberjack, when he breaks down all the idols that the Israelites have during that time. And then towards the end of the story, there was like the nitty-gritty of how he puts together the army and the process that it goes through. But it was just so intense seeing the Lord like cut down an army of 32,000 down to 300. And the Lord does it in a very specific way of just like piece by piece, going from like 32,000 and then to 10,000 and then to 300.
Wow.
And the Lord tells Gideon, hey, like people are going to come up to you and I'm going to tell them this person's in, this person's out, and you'll know. Like that doesn't exactly happen all the time for me.
Right.
But it was just so specific, and it was like, I always imagine with the Lord, there's like this dance of where we have to trust him, but also he's testing if we trust him. Kind of like when you're doing a swing dance and you go for a move. It's like you have to understand that your partner has the best intentions and they're going to catch you and they're going to have you. And so Gideon's on this dance with the Lord of trusting him, and through that, the Lord's bringing peace to an entire country. Like, that's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how they whittle from like 30,000 to 10 to all the way down to 300.
Yeah.
300. Isn't that wild? Like you said it in your message, but like if you were like a military strategist, going from 30,000 to 300 seems like the wrong direction.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And like, it's funny how even in my life and in our own lives, we see how like maybe God's calling us to do something. And so whenever that happens, I jump in it and I'm like, I'm preparing and I'm like, oh, I know what we need for this.
Right.
And I put together a plan.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but then God's like, no, you don't need all that. And like, I don't know. I tend to overplan, overprepare.
Oh, absolutely. And like so many times throughout the story, Gideon's asking, how is this going to happen? How is this going to happen? But the Lord doesn't answer how it's going to happen. He just says he'll be with him. And that's like the most important thing, is like Gideon kind of has I don't know about you, but when things are happening with the Lord and speaking and events are taking place and pieces are getting put together, it's like we have this preconceived notion of how things will happen and how the events will take place. Mm-hmm. But the Lord is so much more concerned with being with us than how it will be done.
Yeah.
And like, if a God can speak the universe into motion, I think creative miracles are in his wheelhouse.
Right.
And so I think we have these preconceived notions of, oh, I think this will be going this way. And when they don't go that way, we get like disappointed or distraught, but it's so much more important that we know who's with us than how it will get done.
Well, and sometimes it's a setup for a miracle.
Exactly.
And
right.
It's almost like I'm so guilty of this, of almost planning and preparing, anticipating that there's not going to be the need for a miracle.
Right.
Or, I mean, it's not that I'm saying God couldn't do it or won't do it, but it's like I plan for it not being a miracle.
Yeah.
And then God's like, well, maybe I wanted to show my power in this moment.
Right.
And so then it's like, hey, why don't you take those 29,700 extra people that you have and kiss them all goodbye. And then I'm going to take the impossible pieces that are left and the pieces of the shattered situation, and I'm going to do something insanely awesome with that.
Yeah. And it's so cool to see just how the Lord works, massive miracles like this for Gideon's sake. But also, I think it's so much more important in our lives recognizing the miracles that the Lord has done, just because that builds faith in our lives and it builds expectation. and it takes God out of a book or out of a Sunday morning and puts him into your day-to-day life, you know. And that's where he loves to be. And in your Monday through Saturday, I think the Lord, he just works so much personally. Like he is, I say it all the time on a Wednesday night. Like, I don't want your faith to be your parents' faith, or a Wednesday night faith, or a Sunday morning faith where you show up to church and it doesn't change anything. But I don't know. I'm not married, but I imagine if you only included your wife in 2 days of the week, the marriage wouldn't exactly be the best.
Yeah, I don't think that would work well.
I can't imagine.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've been married for 20 years now.
Congratulations.
I know. Wow. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I'm
Feels
21.
Like you're 21.
I am.
Wow. I've been married almost as long as you've been alive.
That's insane.
Well, 21 years ago was when I took my wife out on our first date.
Wow.
Right about this time, right at the beginning of February.
So cool.
I know. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? So we've been together for 21 years now. That's right. I could be your dad. Yeah. Ooh, that got awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. That got real awkward. I am not your father.
Thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord. I'm a decent dad. I mean, like,
I know, but anyway.
But you're right. Like, if I only hung out with my wife like 2 days a week, like why would I get, like, you're not going to have a thriving relationship.
No.
There's too many gaps. I like to hang out with my wife every day. In fact, I see her in the morning, most mornings, and then I get to see her again in the evenings. Again, most evenings we see each other twice a day at least.
Right.
And even if we miss one of those times, it's we'll be like, oh, I miss you. You know, like, we're not hanging out.
Right. And just that kind of romance side to it. I love that aspect. And then I guess towards the end of my message, I was trying to figure out how to end it. And then at a young adults meeting at church, the pastor, the leader, he gave us the story about the diamonds in Africa, and I'm like, that's perfect. I'm gonna steal that and slide that in there.
And he stole it from somebody too, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pastors are just professional plagiarizers.
We all plagiarize the Bible.
Yeah.
Professionally.
Yeah. And we get paid for it.
We do. And we plagiarize each other's work on the Bible too.
All the time.
Yeah. You gave him credit, so that's really generous of you.
What can I say? I'm just a generous person.
Yeah. All right. Final segment. Walk it out.
Walk it out.
Yeah. What how do you apply, like, what do you want people to do with what you said on Sunday?
Yeah, that's really good. So bringing peace is like, we use the example of shalom is to, like, restore broken relationships and take what's missing and return it back to wholeness.
Yeah.
So, like, in the Bible, when a person's livestock would get out and cause damage to another person's property, you would bring shalom not just by apologizing for it, but by paying for the damages and restoring that broken relationship. And so my desire is, if you want peace in your lives, make peace with your relationships. And that's difficult because we have dramas and we have traumas and all of that. And I'm not saying that isn't important and that doesn't hurt. It does. But if you want peace in your life, you have to go through the work to make peace in your relationships. And it takes a lot of work to hate someone.
Yeah, it does.
It takes a lot of effort.
Yeah. And the amount of energy that it sucks from you.
It's a massive amount of energy to hate someone. And so putting that energy instead of, and granted, I'm not saying you have to have a perfect relationship with everyone in your life. There's healthy boundaries and inner circles and outer circles. But if your relationship is just, my relationship with you is just based on your actions, and I punish you and I put you down for anything you do wrong, how terrible a relationship is that? How torturing is that?
Yeah.
And I think so many people are stuck trying to control situations and people just so they can get what they want out of them, when it's like, to make peace with another person is to understand, on a good day, the only person I can control is me.
Yeah.
Except when I see those donuts, on a conference table, or
I can't control myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even on a good day, the only person I can control is me. And so by bringing peace in relationships, I'm letting the other person be responsible for them.
Yeah, that's really good. And it's almost like you have to find peace in yourself, like that, with yourself, like that. Yeah. That's hard enough.
Right.
Yeah. And trying to control other people I don't know. It does the opposite. It doesn't bring peace. It brings more conflict,
Right. And
more
like
strife.
Jesus, the greatest commandment, love God with everything and love your neighbor as yourself. Like how can you love God and love your neighbor if you don't love yourself?
Yeah.
And how can you love your neighbor if you don't love God? And it's just that kind of triangle there of, and like even the Pharisee was like, so which is it more important? Like loving God or loving your neighbor? And Jesus is like, if you're asking that question, you're not getting it. Like
right.
it's all connected, because how we love God is demonstrated in how we love our neighbor, and how we love our neighbor is evidence of our love for God. Like it's not mutually exclusive, but it's all connected, because the kingdom is so relational,
right, in
nature.
That's really good, man. That's good, man. That was a good director's cut.
That was
all that was going to be in there.
I kind of went back and forth.
Got it. Yeah. No, that was good
with it. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Well, we're gonna keep doing this. I think we should do this every week.
I think that'd be fun. We got to find a name for it and figure out.
Yeah, we got to find a name for it. And we're working on some other segments too.
Yes.
But because a lot of people don't know this, but I actually put sermon lyrics into my messages sometimes.
From songs,
Yeah,
it's
from
a good
songs.
day that I don't use my AK and Thug Life. And
Yeah, there tend to be some rap lyrics in there and other stuff that's bouncing around in my skull. But yeah, so I think it's funny. I think we should do like the secret song.
Yeah.
And every week, like, what was the secret song lyrics that were like snuck into the thing? And I don't just do rap. I do everything.
Naturally.
But, yeah, of course.
I didn't mean to give you a bad rap there.
I like what you did there, because it's bad rap. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I have sound pads over here too. So I have like, I think there's a rim. No. I have like audiences.
Clapping. Wow.
No.
Oh.
There it is.
Bad
rap.
Yes,
I'm gonna have to learn how to use that better.
Yeah, the comedic timing of it.
That's right. All right, so we're gonna do this every week. We think we're gonna try to do it every week. We'll see what happens, and we're gonna kind of just break down the message, break down the weekend, kind of talk about what happened, and we have a few other segments we're gonna start dropping in, and you'll start to see I don't know, a little more behind the scenes.
Yeah,
I
think it's
who we are all the time. Well, anyhow. God bless you guys. Have a great week.
Have a good
Can't
one.
wait to see you next time.